Off rip, can we just take a moment to admire the vibes this game sets up from moment zero? Just look at this, man. The black and white color palette paying homage to the classic samurai and ninja films back in the day, the ambient music with homegirl yodeling her heart out in a mixture of both passion and sorrow, the beautifully symbolic metaphors we follow the stream of life through its various points. We're gonna ignore my baby girl Ayame looking like Crazy Frog in that one shot for just a second to put respect on my man Rikimaru's name. Y'all, this right here is how you make a ninja. Homie is right up there with Ryu Hayabusa as the sickest ninjas of all time in fiction, bar none. I need Naruto to take a minute to do his homework so he can see what type of time a man in his line of work should actually be on. When we hop into the game, we are immediately greeted with pure insanity as homie with the heaviest Japanese accent ever tells us he's about to test our worthiness to be a part of Lord Gohda's League of Hitters. Real talk, the voice acting for me makes me smile and is one of the most charming parts about these early games in the Tenchu series, and I kind of wish all the games followed in their footsteps with it. They really don't make them like this anymore. So after we put the screws to the second in command a few times, Lord Gohda accepts us and ordains that we will bring him great honor. This puts us into our first mission, where we see one of the sickest parts of all the Tenchu series, which is the pre-game announcer. Bro, there's nothing like the pre-game commentary in these games, where narrator homie starts popping off about all the ills of the world and how we're the only shadow that has what it takes to bring these pieces of polygonal garbage the wrath of heaven. He will low-key have me getting hyped narrating me throwing laundry in the bin. As the shadow made its way to the mechanical cleaning fortress, his thoughts were solemnly morose as he hung his head, seeking only to wash away the evils of the day prior. Alright, let me stop, because announcer homie tells us our first goal is to pay a visit to the womanizing upstart merchant Ichi Goya, who's getting a little too big for his britches after turning from the life of an honest salesman. We learn that bro has actually been brewing up something far more sinister as his business grew. Due to his money and influence, if Buddy got confronted by the cops, he'd be out in a fortnight, no emo. So it's our job to make sure justice is rendered in the only way we know how, in blood. So after we do some mandatory creeping through roofs, we make our way into Ichi Goya's compound, where we find this man hitting the gritty on this poor woman who seems absolutely terrified of his strangely smooth hip movements. Rikimaru literally hops into the scene and prepares to give Buddy the most tragic case of blue balls in his life, but we're stopped by his hired help, who tells us we have chosen the wrong party to crash. Our boy Ricky tries to give the bathrobe wearing nincompoop out, letting him know that we're only here for Ichi Goya, and if he plays his cards right, he won't have to end up in a pair of wooden pajamas. But you already know when y'all see Lebowski's bathrobe and ponytail that he wasn't about to listen. So we square up and do what we gotta do. The boss fight proves to be simple enough and we take dude out, but not before he gives us the most dramatic community theater death animation possible, complete with the blah to top it all off. I said it once and I'll keep saying it, they just don't make them like this anymore. After taking out the biggest ham in the universe, we continue our pursuit where we corner Ichi Goya and rip this fella a new one. In his last moments, this fella just cries out, "My money!" as he bleeds out, and we remark on our completed mission. Let that be a lesson, big fella. You can't take cash with you where you're going. The next mission is relatively smooth, with us stealing some paperwork from the ops that will help to give Gohda an advantage in the upcoming scrap. We turn our goods in and make our way to mission 3, where Gohda has allowed us to break the ninja code by performing a rescue of a captive rather than an assassination, meaning whoever this is has to be pretty dang important. As we make our way through the trenches, we get stopped by fake Ornstein, aka Goo, who tells us he would like to play, putting us in a whole ass boss fight against this round man and his pet bear in this tiny ass arena. Because we're a real one though, we do what needs to be done. But right after, we're greeted by Sting, better known as Onikage, who becomes a staple throughout the series. I don't know what it is, y'all, but there's something about the homie Onikage I've always messed with. Maybe it's the use of his hands, maybe it's the eyeliner, maybe it's Maybelline, I'm not sure, but he's goated for sure. But he just hops in the frame for 0.2 seconds, tells us we're ass, before leaving again, and our attention turns to the captive, who is none other than the homie Ayame, who got caught slipping. When we show up though, this lady has the nerve to be spicy as hell for no reason, talking about, "Took you long enough to get here." Bro, Rikimaru had the exact same reaction as me, hitting her with the Dr. Umar, "Can I beg your pardon?" Like we didn't just topple a 2-ton man in the forces of nature to bust you out the pain. She gets a pass though, not only because she's the homie, but she clearly went to the same acting school as Barry and Jill from Resident Evil 1, and I can't help but smile a little bit every time a line comes out of her mouth. Mission 4 has us doing some spying for Lord Gohda, where we learn our neighbors are preparing an army 20,000 deep to come for Gohda's neck. We race across the checkpoint before we're stopped by a lady who demands to know what we're up to. Not gonna lie, y'all, this part has me weak, because why was Rikimaru in full ninja garb just taking the main roads rather than hopping on roofs or crawling through a swamp or some junk? It is what it is, though. We get in our toxic masculinity bag real quick, tell this lady that the nighttime is no place for a woman, and put our dukes up. We do what needs to be done, and as the lady's bleeding out, Rikimaru continues to not beat the Tate allegations, giving her a prayer lamenting the fact that while she did indeed have hands, fate didn't allow her to be a housewife like she probably wanted. How you know that, bro? She might have been throwing hands with the fella since birth for all we know. You're still my dog though, Ricky. I know what you meant. The level continues until we hit another checkpoint where this bozo informs us that the lady we just sent to King Yema's lobby was his sister, and he apologizes for the rudeness. Ricky actually gives checkpoint baddie her flowers though, telling dude that she was a hell of a fighter, but he needs to pass and he doesn't have time for all this. He continues, informing us that he has orders too, so the only way to settle this for each of them is to pull out their swords and see which of their styles holds more weight in these streets. Y'all already know we pull off the dub, and as homie passes and gives us our flowers, so too does Rikimaru. Admitting dude actually had hands and he wishes they could have fought on the same side. After the glaze session, we hop off to our next mission, where we learn we have some snitches on the inside of the Gohda estate. A scumbag who was under the purse strings of the initial merchant we gave the axe to. Homie is having a secret Discord meeting with another man on the inside, where they go over plans, and this fella has the most stereotypically evil voice to ever graze the screen. Dude out here sounding like Bobbity from DBZ with the delivery. We get into a fight with some hired muscle who gets bulldozed, and before we put him night-night, he spills the beans that our snitch is out. But before we can learn any more, he takes an off-screen arrow to the knee, and we continue our journey. Eventually, we make our way to Kataoka, our snitch's quarters, and this part had me dead, no pun intended. So we roll up on the guy and just like, look at you, bro. Out here lying on your mans? You should be ashamed of yourself. Brother like me would have just committed the sue, so I had some semblance of honor left. Then for the kicker, bro actually agrees. He's like, you right. Grabs a knife and takes low tier God's advice before we slice his head off and promise to give Gohda a report that says, hey, at least he didn't go out like a complete bitch. Next level, we start getting into some of my favorite stuff in Tenchu, where the series starts venturing into the supernatural with demons, spirits, and things of that nature. Shout out to Lou Ratchet. I firmly stand on the fact that Tenchu is one of the scariest survival horror series that's not a survival horror series of all time. Bro, just looked at some of these enemy designs. Absolutely cursed, and I love every second of it. Our goal is that we heard about a sacred Shikon jewel shard in the vicinity that lets people control minds. Of course, we can't let that fall into the wrong hands, so we proceed to get busy on some spirits until we meet Majin Buu's cousin at the end of the level, who we tell to give us that damn shard or we'll get up in their guts and do it ourselves, no Sean Combs. Essentially, we body this numbskull and tell him to jump on a glizzy before the level continues, and we finally get the box of Orochimaru while the sickest song ever plays in the background. Actually, while I'm talking about it, let me take some time to put some flowers on the soundtrack in this game again, because the default boss theme goes absolutely nuts by itself, and I find myself just randomly humming some of these songs to myself during the day. We scramble Onikage's eggs, and while he recombobulates himself, he admits he was unfamiliar with our game, but is going to come correct next time before vanishing. And this next level is so random, man. It has us going up against a bunch of these foreign pirates intruding on our beautiful land before getting into a fight with the captain, who looks like a mixture between Captain Crocodile from One Piece and Simpsons Ralph Wiggum. We push his wig back before leaving him with the parting words, damn, couldn't be me, before hopping off. Next mission tasks us with ascending a mountain to find a medicinal herb that'll heal Kiku's blindness before it's too late. Gohda just be sending us out here on whatever damn errands he can manage, huh? Rikimaru, I need you to go to the city and try out the new hot sauce and determine its Scoville rating before putting it on my burrito and upsetting my IBS. As expected, we're consummate professionals, do our job and get the herb. Gohda sees us next infiltrating the castle where Onikage resides, as Buddy is putting together an army of demon warriors to send our Lord Gohda back to the Stone Age, and we can absolutely have no part of that. So we reach the rooftops where we prepare for another standoff with our Goth Rock rival. He's so sick, Buddy blocks our damn sword swings with his kneecap. What type of time you gotta be on to pull that off? We win the scrap, but not before this dude hits us with a substitution jutsu mid-death. The next mission screen tells us that while we were away, Princess Kiku, Lord Gohda's daughter, has been kidnapped by his enemies, and much like Obi-Wan, we're her only hope. We battle our way through once again, come up on everyone's favorite batch of herpes, Onikage. He assures us that the only reason we won last time is because he wasn't playing for real. Bro, what a toddler. You only beat me because I didn't try. This time though, Ricky Tiki Timbo's had enough and we cut this fella down, we like to think, for keeps. But the only problem is Kiku is being held captive by none other than Lord Mayo, the king of hell and sandwiches, and the only way to get her is to duke it out with the devil himself. How metal is that? We make our way underground to find who else but Lord Mayo, who assures assures us our worries would better be placed not on the girl, but ensuring we don't get turned into a fish fillet. Clearly this dummy doesn't know who we are. We spank his ass back to the infernal hell he came from, then do a sick kata just to pour salt on the wound and remind him who we are. While we're getting active with Lord Mayonnaise, Ayame saved the princess. But after the big fella's death, the base began to explode and Ricky and the gang needed to get out of there ASAP. As the building is collapsing, a rock blocks the path forward and it seems the crew is doomed despite everything they fought to overcome at that point. That's when for the first time Ricky drops his blade and uses his hands to push the rock, allowing the ladies just enough of an opening to grab his blade for their master and escape with their lives. The ladies make it through, but unfortunately, Rikimaru wasn't as lucky. The ladies return to Lord Gohda safe and sound, but Ricky is conspicuously missing. The only thing signifying he ever existed being his blade he entrusted to Ayame before saving her life. And as the three look at the sunrise, it's on this bittersweet note that Tenchu Stealth Assassins comes to an end. Good grief, y'all, what a game. You know it's good because it got me out here talking like Charlie Brown. Tenchu occupies a special place in this fella's heart, and I hope you enjoy running through the story with me. If you have any suggestions for games you'd like to see recap, let me know, and I'll talk to you all again in the next video.